We are recording, and this is it. I mean, honestly, I don't even know where to start. I haven't posted on my podcast in about 2 months now, and there's just been this lag. And this episode is basically the start of a new chapter. And I feel like it's kind of ironic when it comes to creatives. We always want to start a new chapter, and this is the new me, and like forget everything else and look at me now. But because we are round plugs and square holes, we're always going to be changing. I am always going to be changing. And the thing is, it had reached this point, right? Because flashback to 2017, I first got introduced to podcasts and the concept, and I decided I wanted to make a podcast that looked at things on the deeper layers and looked underneath the surface with everything, with topics, with people, with places, with ideas, with constructs and thoughts and the universe and ideologies. And I just wanted to look at the deeper layer that other people may not be looking at. So in this idea, I had it running, and it was on my goal list and my to-do list throughout 2017. I kept on wanting to do it in 2018. In 2019, I tried to do it. In 2018, I tried to do it. And then 2020 came. And I think the factor that stopped me was the how, the with whom, because I assumed that with podcasts, you had to do it with someone else. And it was just the procrastination aspect. In so many aspects of my life, I just felt like there was a piece missing before I could dive in. And 2020, I'm like, we're diving in, we're doing this, otherwise we're never going to do it. And anyone who knew me, who knows me, who will know me, I'm just a very I see the future, I see the goals, I see the vision, and there's so much that I want to achieve and so much that I want to manifest. But something happened within my life that had me getting in my own way, and I needed to change that. So I was like, okay, in July I'm going to release this podcast, and I'm going to have 5 pre-recorded episodes. I'm never going to fall behind it. I'm going to do this. I kind of was dawdling with here and there, and there was so many things going on. It was school, I was writing finals, there was my mixtape and my singles and music, and there was just trying to grow my soul, trying to deal with my stuff, going through roller coasters of emotions, dealing with relationships and people, and so much was going on that it's not like I could dive headfirst into certain things. And there's been this bit of hesitation when it comes to me, where I think as someone who is always an achiever, this is something that I've realized, is that I was always an achiever. And when you're used to being good at everything, when you're used to being, when you're just used to not having to try that hard, or like you attempt things and you always do well at them, when you start failing, it's a bit of a shock to the system. And I started half doing things as to avoid disappointment within myself, because there's this essence of, if I put my all into this and it doesn't work out, it's going to hit really hard as a blow. And in self-evolution, I started figuring this out about myself. I started looking at my YouTube channel. I started looking at school and how it was going now. I started looking at the different projects. I started looking at, like, Leah, you've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I was that teen in high school who read Forbes every month, who looked up entrepreneurs, my idols were businessmen. And I had this dream, and I believed, I still do, that I'm going to be in Forbes 100. I'm going to change the world. I'm going to be successful. It's just that when this little phase of mental confusion and anguish and failure and trying and existential crises, one after the other, and why am I here and what am I doing, when all of this was happening, there was this person who I believed I was, and I wasn't being that person. And I found it so hard. And I was like, what is going on? Like, I don't understand. Why do I feel like this? I'm not this person. I'm supposed to be successful. But the thing is, there's this trial period of self-discovery before you become the person that you are. Because if I didn't go through all of that, I wouldn't be sitting here like, this is where we are. I love how I took a 5-minute detour just to explain that now it's a visual podcast. I mean, that wasn't really the aim, but we always go on a winding road here. So, like, welcome. This is Round Plug Square Hole if you're here for the first time. By the way, I always jump from topic to topic because my head, not my head, but like my brain works at a mile a minute. If I could explain what happens in my brain to people, like, have you seen those videos of the New York Stock Exchange where people are like, there are a million people yelling at the same time and simultaneously so much is happening? That is my mind. So many things are happening simultaneously that sometimes I run my sentences, so I may not finish a word and then I start into the next sentence, or I may not finish a topic and I go into the next one because there's actually so much happening up here. I am sitting here and I'm like, it is now a visual podcast because I realized, dude, first of all, I'm super into visuals. I'm expanding my camera work. I really want to go into production, like creative direction, script writing, movie series. And I'm like, dude, the reason why there was just a mismatch or like a gap within my podcast is because the visual aspect was missing, and the visual aspect is so mature, you know what I mean? So this is the new chapter. I am here. It is visual. If you're hearing the audio, that's still cool. You can find the visuals on YouTube or whatever other platform have visuals. I haven't checked up on that yet. And yeah, I just wanted to talk about the time lag between when I last posted, the synopsis, or yeah, the basic synopsis and the breakdown of my podcast, what we're going to be getting into, what we're going to be talking about. Basically, I think a lot. I go through a lot of introspection. I think about why a lot. I think about the universe. I think about people. I think about concepts. I think about constructs. I basically just think. I'm a thinker. You know the thinking man statue, the artwork? Yeah, that is me 24/7. My mind is always working. And it's funny because I was at coffee today and we bumped into someone and they were having a conversation. And I was saying how I think a lot, and she was like, oh, like a lot of contemplation can make you crazy. And my response was, well, not if you're crazy already. And I was sitting there like, yeah, I get how people would think thinking a lot or just being in your mind a lot can make you crazy. I think because there's a detachment into reality and you go down a desponding road. But I feel like, how did we ever even find the origins of the universe? How did we realize why? How did we invent? How did we come up with theories and thought processes and belief systems and like the bed I'm sitting on, the mic that I'm using, the clothes that I'm wearing, the way that you are viewing me and how you're perceiving my being? That wouldn't have never happened without someone sitting down and thinking. And when we think about our mind and we think about how we think and we think about like the evolution of thought and mankind in general, how can you not sit and think about it? How can you not sit and deliberate? How can you not question, and how can you not expand? Like, there's the entire universe happening outside of myself right now. Like, I am just a little, not even a pin drop in the universe. We're discovering new galaxies every day, and the universe is still expanding. Like, more universe is being created as I speak. Isn't that mind-blowing? Now, I love how I'm diving straight into it, but like, this is Mliwa for you. And when I say round plug square holes, because a lot of the time what you see is not always what you get. What you expect is not what you'll receive. And honestly, like, this is just me. So yeah. But yeah, so the universe. You know, when you think about the universe and it's expansive, like I had this thought when I was looking out into the stars one night. And you think about infinities and infinities and light years and galaxies and stars and a million different things, right? When you think about all of that, isn't it crazy to think that you have a universe inside yourself? I believe that the universe and the earth and like the world that we see was put in front of us to remind us who we are on the inside. We're amazed by the mountains and the sea and the sky and the stars and everything. But that is so we connect to it within ourselves. There's a cricket behind me, like there's a cricket like creaking in the background. So if you hear that, I'm sorry. Isn't it insane? Because you know how the universe is still creating itself? We are still creating ourselves. Like, I believe, like, from when you are born to when you die, you're creating this entire universe. Like, the people that you see, the words that you say, the memories you make, what you decide to and not to do. You know how people are like, I wish I spoke to that girl on the train. That is the universe you're creating. Constantly, there are multiple timelines existing simultaneously, and your reality is based on the choices that you make. For example, if I have exams next year in May, am I going to start working on them today, or am I going to start working on them in November or December or January or February or May or March? Right now, I could have the revelation, and God or the universe or my intuition will say I will ace them, right? My decision whether to start now or later will affect my reality, right? Or, for example, if I decided to do a line right now, I'm creating a new reality where I'm now a user. So, for example, what if I'm a drug addict? I will never know until I make that decision. So we're creating this universe, like, in fact, universes, because people, things, places, experiences, they all boil down to choice. Now, we have this thing of circumstance. Sometimes you can't control your situation and your surroundings and your environment and your truth, but you reach a point where it's now in your hands. Are you gonna make it, or are you gonna create this new reality that you want in spite of where you are? Or are you going to stay in this same place because of where you are? I feel like we are all presented our own personal obstacles. So, for example, you might look at someone else and be like, oh, they have it better, or someone will be like, oh, someone has it worse. But I feel like you're given your own personal problems and struggles in life because they're the lessons that you need to learn in this lifetime. Someone might not be as affected with material things as someone else. Someone may be really emotionally created by relationships and connections, where someone could be switched off on that. So where are your problem areas going to arise in the places that affect you the most, right? Life is literally about learning and expanding. And when I went through my awakening and my ascension, and I started soul searching and diving deep and growing myself, I started realizing that there's so much more to life. Sometimes you get so stuck in the matrix, and it happens to me too, which is why there was such a big gap. And I feel like I was kind of blocking my own manifestations for the last 2 months because I was so caught up in the matrix. I would go on Instagram and see people doing things, or like releasing music and posting pictures, and like I would see someone who literally started a YouTube channel like a month ago get like 1,000 subscribers, where I would have started mine in 2016, and I literally in 2020 have only hit my first 200 subscribers. When you see imbalances in the world and life, and you just get mad and you get angry and you get anxious, and then now you're thinking, wait a minute, my Instagram timeline doesn't look good, so maybe I need to focus on that. And it's like the matrix pulling you back in. I was so invested in my why, and I was meditating, and I was like, okay, we're going to change the world, and this is how we're going to do it, and you get your workflow in. And then it's almost like the matrix, God, Satan, whatever, the universe, sends you all these distractions to pull you off of your life path. So when you get pulled off of your life path, you forget your why, and now you think of what people perceive. Sometimes you need to detach from what people see now to create a new reality that you want to live in. Sometimes you want to create the facade of perfection before we get there, so we don't get to reach perfection or our version of it, because we are so obsessed in the appearance of it en route. Like, my whole brand is imperfection. Like, I want people to know that it's okay to be imperfect, and our imperfections are like puzzle pieces. I truly believe that if everyone was in their truth and they just connected to their souls and they did what their soul called them to do, the whole world would work as a circuit because everyone is serving their divine purpose and truth. And like suddenly it'll be like an assembly line. Like, you know how there's an assembly line, someone's doing the screw here, someone's attaching this there, someone's pressing this there, and it's like the pressing guy wants to be the screwing guy, and the screwing guy wants to be the like the guy who brings it out of the furnace, and everyone wants to do what everyone else is doing, but they're not following their own soul because the aesthetics seem better on the other side. You need to sit down and ask yourself why. And I feel like because I'm such an extreme in like polar person, it's like, for example, I think about legacy a lot and my why and what I'm leaving behind. But sometimes because I'm such a procrastinator, I'll think of consistency. Like, what am I putting out? What am I saying? Like, I need to consistently do things, which is kind of where like the last few episodes of my podcast were going. Like, I need to meet the Wednesday deadline. I need to meet it. I need to meet it. I need to meet it. That like the why and the what and the content and the substance I was lacking in. And the thing is, when you grow your soul and you vibrate higher and you're becoming whole, you kind of move from polarity into unity consciousness. And where unity consciousness lies is taking all these aspects, like the good aspects, the extremist ones on yourself, and finding a harmony and balance so you can peacefully exist within yourself. I think I'm one person who understands the chaotic existence within yourself. Sometimes, like, I think for years, for like a whole existence, I was chaotically existing in myself. It's like the push and pull just kept on happening. Like, one version is pulling me this way, one version is pulling me this way, one version must be happy, one version must be sad, one version wants to change their lives, the other one is like, no, let's just chill, whatever, like, F it, like. But I had to like find peace and unity and harmony, and I kind of found that through meditating and trying to raise my vibration. Like, when I started raising my vibration and changing and growing my soul and awakening, I first started in reprogramming my mind because I realized that I was negative all the time. I was consistently thinking about, for example, I was so self-deprecating. I was so negative. Like, someone will say something and I'll say the negative version. Something happened and I'll say something negative. And I started catching myself in the moment. And I realized that, dude, 70% of the time you're thinking negative things or you're saying negative things. No wonder what you're manifesting is not what you want, right? So I had to reprogram my mind, and I started getting more zen, and I started like realizing that I went from 70% negative to 30% negative, and my life started shifting. My reality started changing. But why did my reality start changing? Because my inner landscape started changing. Your external reality is a manifestation of what's happening on the inside. Chaos, right? You're listening to this podcast or you're watching it and you're thinking, this is so chaotic. This person is like popcorn. They're here and there, they're everywhere. But that is literally like my universe and my existence. I feel like I exist in multiple different realities at the same time. And I can literally run through 30 universes in the space of 5 minutes. Like, I'll go through 10 different ideas in a minute. And there are few people, in fact, there's only one person who I can literally like just, I can be here and I'm just like and I'm creating, and I'm like in the first minute I'm like, whoop, I've gone to Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, Earth, up there, down there, to the side. But it's like, oh, now I'm talking about music and animations and digital and photography and videography, and I circle back to music, and now I'm talking about this and my podcast. And they totally get it, but very few people understand it. And I feel like I make my podcast and my music and everything so I can reach people who are like me. So you can understand my psyche, so you can understand my ideas, and we can just talk about deep things like this, you know? Sometimes I just need to unravel the things going on in my head. Like, if I wasn't having this conversation and if I wasn't conducting this podcast episode, this would be going on in my mind consistently, and it's like, that's not healthy. If you've reached the end of this, you're probably thinking, what did I just listen to? But this is basically an entry point into what's coming, like the podcast, like the vibes, you know. We are going to be talking about anything and everything, and I have some cool interviews set up. The first ones are over Zoom though, because I have some interesting people that I would love to talk to that aren't with me right now. And they have some cool aspects on life and creation and motivation and business and music and art, and it's just a lot, and I feel really excited to go on this journey with you guys. I'm honestly so honored and so grateful, and I hope that you tune into the next episode. This was just kind of a taste of what's to come, and I actually want to make a special shout out to my French listeners. You guys in France, let me just say, you are 60% of my viewership, and I think there's like a viewer retention, and my French people are just rooting for me, and I just want to say thank you, and I see you, and I acknowledge you, and I'm sending good vibrations to you. So before I ramble on and on and on and on some more, I will say goodbye, and I'll catch you in the next episode. Oh, if you want to catch me on my socials, at Moody Chats on Instagram and Twitter, MUDIE_CHATZ, and Simply Media on YouTube. I will catch you all on the flip side. Light love and good vibrations.